it wasn't until I actually learned that if I just listened to the messages that they were telling me, that really what the other side wanted was to just use me to reach people here in this world. And that's why I want to educate people on what I've learned about heaven and the afterlife, because once you've learned that there is an afterlife and once you've learned about the spirit world, suddenly it doesn't become so scary.
What's up, everyone? Tania here with PopCulture.com, and I'm so happy to welcome renowned psychic medium Matt Fraser, whose new book, We Never Die, Secrets of the Afterlife, is out August 23rd. Matt, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, of course. And, congrats on everything. You and your lovely wife, Alexa, are expecting your first child this August. So how has mommy and daddy prep been, especially since you're currently on tour this summer?
I got to tell you something. It's been a lot more than what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I got to be honest with you. I thought that having a child would be easy. It looks easy on television, but then when you start to go through it, you learn so many things. I mean, here I am, Alexa's trying to teach me about the breast pumps, about when you use the bassinet, about how the car seat works, when they have to upgrade from a booster seat to this seat to that seat. I got to tell you, a lot goes into it, but it's an amazing journey because at the same time, it's like we get to learn each other in a whole new way. And, it's an amazing time to bond with one another as well.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful new chapter you're ahead with. And, August is going to be an amazing month for you. And your book is also coming out in August. So, between the live events and the readings and what we know about your gift, what made you want to come out with this third book?
So this book is really about what happens when we take our last breath here in this world. And it's something that so many people fear. And I actually wrote this book during COVID, during the pandemic, because literally then more so than ever, so many people were writing to me with so many questions. They had questions like, Matt, what really happens when we pass away? They had questions like, Matt, what happens, when we didn't get to say goodbye to a loved one? What happens when someone passed unexpectedly? What happens when somebody, doesn't transition onto the other side? Or what happens if we were married multiple times? Do we end up with that same person in heaven that we were, that was the most recent marriage? Or do we go back to the first? What happens?
Yeah.
So this book answers those questions. So what I did is I took all the questions that everybody asked me during the pandemic and I turned it into a book. And I took all of that information that I've learned from the spirit world and I've shared it with everyone else just by making this book available. Because the one thing that I want people to know is I don't know everything there is to know about death and dying. You only do is if you go through it. But I talk to souls all the time. And when I talk to them, they do answer these questions.
Yeah. And, for those who are just getting to know you and they're going to pick up your book and, you help connect the living with friends and family members who have passed and you prove that they're not really dead. And something that I loved reading in the book was that you said they're different. They're just different. So with respect to what you shared, can you explain what different really means in terms of the afterlife?
Absolutely. So the one thing that people fear the most is that everybody says to me, Matt, so when we leave this world, we leave our body behind. What's our spirit? Does that mean that we're just air? Does that mean that we're invisible? I don't get it. Is my husband just air because he died? Is my sister just air? I don't understand. But what I want people to know is this, is that when we leave our body behind and we transition on, we still have an appearance in heaven. Our appearance is unique to us. We all look the way that we do because it's us. No two people look the same. Even twins, although that they may resemble one another or look to some people identical, we all have our unique characteristics that make us us, right? The way that we wear our hair, the type of clothing that we wear, the type of makeup that we wear, whatever it is, it becomes part of your identity. So when we go to the other side, we don't lose our identity. We take our appearance with us to the other side. And the only thing that's different about that is that we might not be in physical form, but we still look the same. And the souls come through looking better than ever. It's the reason why when I do a reading, I'm not fearful of talking to the departed because I don't see them dying on the other side. I see them as if they were living their best life here in this world.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful to hear. Like, it's so reassuring too. And, you do say in the book that you see the dead alongside the living every day, but there was a time when you pushed it away and thankfully you found your way back to it. So I'm just wondering, how has fine tuning your gift helped create a balance? And did it ever take a toll on you?
Absolutely. Because what happened is I first started off being so afraid of this gift. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I actually learned that if I just listened to the messages that they were telling me, that really what the other side wanted was to just use me to reach people here in this world. And that's why I want to educate people on what I've learned about heaven and the afterlife, because once you've learned that there is an afterlife and once you've learned about the spirit world, suddenly it doesn't become so scary. And that's actually the reason why I made this book cover, because this is literally what happens when we transition out. It's like we leave our physical body behind, but literally we take a different form on the other side, but we still look the same and we choose the best version of us. So what I like to think about, it's like the same way here in this world, right? In pop culture, we're always going in looking for the best Facebook profile, the best Instagram shot, right? The best Twitter shot. It's the same thing on the other side. Is it the same way that we search for that profile picture that best represents us, our personality, where we look our best, feel our best, sends a message out to the people on our profile? It's the same thing in heaven. We come back in a form where we're healthy, where we're fine, and at a time in our life that best represents us.
One of the things I love so much about this book is that it's based on conversations from souls from the other side, and it divides up some of the most popular questions. But I'm wondering, what is one of the most common messages you came across from the living and even from spirits who've moved on?
Well, the one thing that the spirit world tells me is that if there was something different or a piece of advice that they could give us here in this world, it would be to take chances, take risks, and don't let self-doubt come in between you and your dreams. That's the one thing that I've learned from the spirit world, is when they've gone to the other side, they realize how many opportunities, how many friendships, how many relationships, how many things that they may have pushed away in their life because of self-doubt, because of fear, because of worries, because of all of these things that we feel here in this world. Because when we transitioned onto the other side, we don't feel any of those things. Right. So what's so amazing is that what the spirit world tells me is that when we're born here in this world, we're born a pure soul. Like, for example, a baby knows nothing but love. A baby doesn't know anger, hate, how to lie, how to cheat, how to steal, how to do any of those things. But those are negative things that we learn, unfortunately, here on earth. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, one of the other things that we learn or that we absorb are our worries, fears, our self-doubt, our limiting self-beliefs. All of those things were also taught. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that the spirit world wants to share with all of us is that we were all born here in this world with certain gifts. We were all born here in this world with unique talents and abilities. And what they want us to do is believe in ourselves. Take that next step. Don't be afraid, to tap into that inner you and to share it with the world. And that's one of the messages that I feel is so relevant today, because there's so many people that are afraid to be themselves because they're afraid of being judged, or they're afraid of what people will say. And the spirit world says, listen, just be you.
Yeah. And it's such a nice thing that we have that reassurance from, family, friends who've passed, that they can actually give us that sort of love and affection that if we don't feel it sometimes, like obviously we have it from them and they can give it to us with these messages. But, there is a lovely chapter where you talk about what psychic abilities are. And I'm wondering, how do we know we have something of this sort versus it maybe just being a coincidence?
Well, first of all, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think there's any such thing as a coincidence, because we all have a way to connect with the spirit world, but some people don't realize that. Mm-hmm. So first of all, what I want everyone to know is that every psychic medium is different. So some mediums, like myself, connect to the departed. Other mediums might just connect to pets. Some mediums might find lost or missing items. Some mediums might get premonitions. Some mediums might be medical mediums or life readers where they can see into the future. So everybody has a different way of connecting, and no two mediums are the same, just like you might see some mediums on television holding something to give a reading or connect with a loved one, because we all have a different way to make that connection. Mm-hmm. But what I want people to understand is that you also have a connection. We're all born with a phone line to heaven. You just have to figure out what it is. Are you a psychic dreamer? Meaning, do you dream of your loved ones that have passed and that's how you receive messages? Are you a feeler? Do you sense and feel things before they happen? Do you sense and feel spirits that are with you? Are you someone that receives thoughts and messages through your thoughts, where you feel like you can hear your loved ones talking to you? Are you somebody that can actually smell your loved ones, as crazy as it sounds? Maybe you're by yourself and all of a sudden you smell that same type of cologne or perfume that your dad or your mom wore. Mm-hmm. So, the signs are all around us. We just have to learn how it is that we tap in and understand them.
Yeah. And, how do we know that the signs, through these signs, like, what is it like the spirit's trying to tell us? Like, do we know, is there a way that we can figure out like what it actually means? Like, how do we decipher these sorts of signs?
So first of all, signs are literally a hello from heaven. That's what they are. So some people will get signs. They're like, Matt, I'm receiving all these signs from my mom. Is there something that I'm doing different? Is there something that, that she's trying to warn me about? And no, what your loved ones want you to know is that they're with you through the best times in your life, through the challenging times in your life, and through the times when you're unsure within your life. So the same way that we send little text messages, and back in the day, we used to send postcards to our loved ones in spirit do the same thing with signs. So for example, if you're going for a job interview and you're really nervous and you're really stressed, you might see a sign from your mom, and it's her way of reminding you that she's there and she's close by. If you're someone that's really stressed and worried because maybe there's a family situation going on and you would always turn to your dad for help, you might see a sign from him letting you know that he's there. Or it might be just a time when you're missing them, or a time when they just want to let you know that they're there. Because the one thing that I've learned as well is that signs come when you least expect them, but when you most need them.
So every time if I see something like a number, that's always my number, and I see it everywhere I'm going, that's definitely a sign. It's not just a pattern or anything.
Absolutely. Okay. That's the easiest way for them to communicate with us. Signs like 11/11, the time in which we were born, the date in which we were born, our loved one's anniversary are oftentimes signs. So if you see a repeating number, one of the things that you should do is try to correlate it to what that number could mean. Was that the day that your dad died? For example, if you keep seeing 119, who passed on 119? Was that a specific date? Was it January 19th? Was someone born on that day? And you can kind of really go and dive into the signs to see who's sending them to you. Right. So the one thing I can tell you is that signs follow our loved ones' personalities. So for example, if your dad was a fisherman, he'll probably use, anything to do with fish to send you signs. Whether it be that you see a certain type of fish, whether it be on a bumper sticker, whether it be that you see a fishing lure, fishing hooks, whatever it is, that might be a sign that your dad uses, because he'll know if he sends that to you, that you'll know that it's him. Wow. Your grandmother, who is a baker, might send you a different sign. For example, I had a client where his mom had passed away, and his mom was this amazing Italian cook. And literally, when he found out that his mom was sick, he went and moved her in with him. Mm-hmm. And literally, they spent the last 2 years of her life together with one another, living in the same house. And every single night, his mother would make him an Italian meal, whether it be, pasta fagioli, or whether it be, steak pizzaiolo, or any of these dishes. And he used to get so excited because every day he would smell his mom cooking. He would wake up in the morning and smell her starting the sauce and starting the different things. Well, don't you know that after his mom died, he kept saying, oh, I miss my mom's cooking. I miss my mom's cooking. And literally, about a year after she passed, mm-hmm. He woke up in the middle of the night and literally could smell someone cooking in the kitchen. He could smell the garlic. He could smell the sauce. He smelled all these things. And he jumped up and he's like, what the hell is going on? And he went in the kitchen, and obviously everything was off. Everything was put away. Nobody was cooking. But that was a sign from his mother, letting him know that, she came to visit him.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And the thing about all these signs too, I feel like it kind of ties into the chapter on love and relationships, which was so sweet and eye-opening in terms of understanding soulmates and how love is love in every aspect. So with the help of spirit and the universe, how does one know when we've found, our one true soulmate? And I know you mentioned that there isn't always one true soulmate for everybody, but could you please explain it?
Absolutely. So first of all, I want you to know that when you find your soulmate, you know. And I'll tell you that because with all the readings that I do, especially the private readings, people know when they're not with their soulmate. And I think that's the saddest thing, is that there's so many people who will call me in confidence and say, I love my husband, he's a great guy, or I love my wife, she's a great woman, but it's just not my soulmate. Right. They're a good person, but I don't really love them like that. Mm-hmm. And, one of the examples that I gave in my book was that there was, not everybody makes it together on the other side. Mm-hmm. So just because you're married here in this world doesn't mean that you'll be together in heaven. And right away, people freak out when I say that, but hear me out for a minute. Mm-hmm. Because as I explained in my book, there was this client that I read for, and it was an arranged marriage. Mm-hmm. And she could not have been any more unhappy in the relationship she was in. Right. And so was her husband. He truly didn't love her. She truly didn't love him, but it was an arranged marriage. And, they tried their best to make a go of it. But the more that they were with one another, the more that they just pushed apart, because they just realized as life went on that they were just complete polar opposites. Yeah. And, unfortunately, he had passed in a tragic way. And after he had died, it's all in the book. But fast forward, she came to me so worried. because she literally had, was living hell here in this world because she was with somebody that she truly didn't love, somebody that she couldn't start a family with, somebody that, didn't appreciate her and she didn't appreciate him. And she was like, Matt, what does this mean? She says, does this mean that not because we were married that I have to spend all eternity with someone that I truly didn't care about or love?
Right.
And the answer is no. That's what the spirit world told me, is that a soulmate is someone that we choose here in this world. But then at the end of the day, after we pass on, we choose that same soul again. That's what a soulmate truly is.
And, you've mentioned something very interesting, that you've shared predictions from heaven with those that are living. So how do souls in heaven know what will happen on earth and our lives here?
That's a really good question. I don't know exactly how they know, but they tell me there's something in heaven called universal knowledge. So universal knowledge is that everything that we do here in this world matters. Everything, even our mistakes. So for example, whether we had an addiction struggle, whether we had a financial struggle, whether we had an emotional struggle, there's something that we learned from that. Yeah. We take all of those learnings, all those teachings, all of those things that we had here in this world, and we bring them to the other side, and collectively everybody learns from it. So it's almost like here today, right? When something goes down in history, for example, we're still learning about the COVID-19 pandemic. One day we're going to see that in history books, right? And later on, future generations are going to learn about this pandemic, what we did right, what we did wrong, what happened in between. Yeah. So it's the same thing happens in heaven, although it's not in textbook, it's just shared knowledge. So what happens is that on the other side, once that shared knowledge kind of comes into play, what ends up happening is that everybody in spirit has access to that. But not only that, our loved ones are able to see what's going to happen within our lives. So for example, easiest way to explain this is that our loved ones in spirit always know, if we're going to have, if there's going to be a pregnancy in the family. Why is that? Because they meet our children before we do, as weird as that sounds. So if there's a child that's meant for you, and there's a child that you're supposed to have, that soul is waiting in heaven to be born down here in this world. So it's very common for me to do a reading and a grandmother will say, oh, let my granddaughter know that she's going to have a baby boy. I see her baby boy that she's going to have, 3 years from now. Yeah. Or, oh, please let my daughter know that I see that she's pregnant again. And this time it's going to be a girl. And, they can know these things because in heaven, they've already met those souls.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And that's so cute too. It's like they actually get to meet them. Like it's, because it's like one of those things where it's like when somebody has passed and they don't get to meet the family members, for that to be also like such reassurance that they've actually met, that's beautiful. That's so sweet. You do delve into the question, where is heaven? And that was something that got me very emotional reading because, even thinking about now, it's like one of those things it's very simple how you note it, how you detail it. But can you share a little bit about that and what it looks like?
Yes. So I think the number one question that I'm asked is, what does heaven look like and what does the spirit world look like? So and we've all experienced heaven in one way, and the easiest way to describe it is a dream, because heaven is an energy place. It's not another planet. It's not another planet. It's not another world. Well, it is another world, but it's made completely of energy. Right. So like I said, people get so freaked out about that because they're like, Matt, will I be able to touch? How am I going to be able to feel? How am I going to be able to do all these things if I'm just energy? What does that mean? I just cease to exist? No. That's the reason why we're able to live forever. So what happens is that when we transition on to the other side and we enter into the spirit world, our soul is energy. The world that we're entering into is energy. So we meet and connect. And then what happens is it's the same thing like in a dream. So if you've ever had a dream that's so vivid, so real, and literally during that dream, you've been able to touch people, hug people, have conversations with people, feel, let's say you were on a beach and you could feel the air. And sometimes you even might have a dream that's so vivid and real that you wake up and that you're crying because you're emotional in the dream. Well, if you've ever had that experience, then that's exactly what heaven is. That same space that you entered into your mind was an energy space. It wasn't really there. But what I can tell you, or it wasn't really there, meaning it wasn't physically there, but it was there. You were there. It's the same thing with heaven.
I love that. And, I love talking to you all the time. And this is always like such insightful stuff with you. But, before I do let you go, the book is incredible. And I'm so excited to talk to this, about this with my friends and my family members. And you do mention how psychic abilities are hereditary and they get passed down. And you are expecting your first child with Alexa this August. And I'm wondering, has that ever crossed your mind that, your child will be bestowed with this beautiful gift? Or is that even crossed your mind?
So I don't want to speak too early on this because it absolutely has. And I question every day because I was born with abilities, but my sister wasn't. So it's like, will he have abilities? Will he not have abilities? And I'm going to tell you this. So something really weird has been happening since Alexa has been pregnant. And it's almost like she's been psychic. So Alexa's never been that way. She's never like, had premonitions or thoughts or things like that. She considers herself intuitive, but nowhere near psychic or anything like that. But literally what's been happening, and it's been something that's really just been, like I said, there's no coincidences that have just been getting our attention, is that she's been predicting random things. Like, for example, she's like, we live, and our other home is in West Palm Beach. And we're in West Palm Beach, and Alexa was saying, that building right there, she's like, I just feel like it's going to go. She goes, I feel like it's going to be demolished. So I said to her, I don't think so. I says, because it's on the water. I said, I know it looks like, ass. I'm like, but I said, somebody has owned that for 25 years. It's not going anywhere. She's like, she goes, I wish that it would be bulldozed down. The next day we get up, we go to get our coffee, and there's bulldozers there taking apart the building. We're like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, you said that. Well, anyways, all those moments keep happening. Where like Alexa's like, I like, it's just random things where she was like, I feel like this is going to happen. And next thing you know, it does. And it's like, where did that come from? And then the other day, like we were going to see this property because we're looking at a new office. And I said, you want to come around with me? So she's like, yeah, all right. So we're going to look at this office space. And Alexa's saying to me, oh my God, the energy is so good. And I feel this energy. I'm like, who the hell are you right now? Who's this like medium? Is it me or you? Like you're feeling energy all of a sudden? Right. She said to me, she's like, oh my God, I don't know why I said that. She's like, I don't know why I'm talking like this. So I'm wondering if maybe he does have abilities and it's coming out through Alexa.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be so fun to see and hear from you guys about it. But, Matt, I also want to ask, I know you had a TV show briefly on E, which was amazing. It was so much fun. Are we going to see you back in the TV reality realm and maybe like on Netflix or Hulu or something like that?
You absolutely will. So we just wrapped up filming. So unfortunately, we will not be back on E, but we have a new network that we will be coming on. I can't release too much of the details, but it is going to be coming out. Hopefully, we're shooting for end of summer 2022.
That's perfect. That's so great to hear. But I'm so happy for you, Matt. And like your gift is beautiful. And I know it's so appreciated by those that love you and appreciate what you're doing. So guys, for more with Matt Fraser and where to pick up your copy of We Never Die, Secrets of the Afterlife, head to popculture.com for the latest.